It's no secret that Anthony Martial is Joel Glazer's favourite Man United player. It's no secret, and if you haven't heard that, it's true. It's true. He absolutely loves Anthony Martial, and that tells you everything you need to know about the Glazer. That Glazer. I mean, especially when you consider the terrible performance that Anthony Martial had last night against Brighton. It was absolutely terrible. Absolutely disgraceful. It's disgraceful. I don't even know why he's still in the squad, other than the fact that he's obviously a Glazer favourite. And to be honest, I've never been one of Martial's biggest fans. Yes, he's a United player, so I've always wanted him to change my mind, prove to me that he is the player that others say that he's going to be. So in this video, I'm going to talk about Martial, I'm going to talk about Anthony, I'm going to talk about Casemiro, I'm going to talk about Bruno Fernandes, I'm going to talk about Marcus Rashford, what last night's performance means for us in the league, and what we need to do to guarantee a top four finish. But here we go. But most important thing is when a manager isn't happy with a player such as Martial, and others players aren't performing, such as Fred, Anthony and Casemiro, you have to wonder what's going on. What's going on? Where is Ten Hag's influence over the players that I've mentioned? I mean, last night, Fred was like an headless chicken for me, running around the pitch, not affecting nothing, but he was being played around, passed around as if he wasn't there. And that was his first Premier League start since Liverpool beat us 7-0 in March. He hadn't started a game since the 7-0 loss in March. That feels like a long time ago. And Anthony, for me, was infuriating last night. He's so one-footed, I wonder how he ever made it to this level, to that level of football, as a player. Yeah, he does look exciting at times, but you just know that there's no end product. Nothing's going to happen. Nothing's going to happen. I mean, if I was to talk to him and say, stop running into space, slowing it down, and then turning back on yourself, I'd say to him, I mean, convince the manager to play you on the right. I mean, you probably have to be more effective with one left foot, 1 foot only. The number of shots he has on goal and misses the target is infuriating. When he goes on one of those, gets one on target, you've got to admit, 9 times out of 10, it's the limpest shot you could imagine. It's just not good enough. It's just not good enough. I mean, last night, I think he was so bad that he even did his own heading. Anthony did his own heading. And that turned into anger. I mean, I was surprised that didn't end up him getting sent off. I mean, if I spoke to him, I said, you've been blowing hot and cold. I'd say, you've been blowing hot and cold since you come to the club nearly a year ago. Ten Hag should drop you. That's what I'd say to him. I'd say it to his face. I mean, I'll come to Casemiro and Bruno and Rashford in a minute, but Martial was the worst player in the United shirt for me last night. Definitely the worst. He'd received the ball to feet with his back to goal, and then take an age to turn. I mean, come on, where's his pace? By the time he's made a decision to face goal, a Brighton player was on him. And times out of 10, he was on his arse. Or play a desperate pass, which came to nothing. But for years, for absolute years, Joel Glazer's been a supporter of Martial's. Been a supporter. I mean, okay, some would say he's a talented player. And maybe that's true. Maybe that's true. In training. But that's not competitive games. And that's where the real test is. And he fails in that situation for me. All the time. Fails. I mean, yes, he's had his injuries. But they're so frequent that I just think that his best days are behind him. But as an owner's favourite player, ahead of the likes of Rashford, Bruno and others, that just takes the piss for me. Proper takes the piss. And it tells you that Joel Glazer knows absolutely nothing about football. Absolutely nothing about football. And I'm sorry to say this, but I am. I never thought I'd ever say it. But because of, obviously, the Glazers, and their love for Martial and other players alike. That's why we're fighting for top 4, not the Prem. Not the Prem. I mean, to back that up, did you know that Jose Mourinho tried to get rid of Martial back in 2017? It was a swap deal involving Ivan Perisic. Perisic was, in Mourinho's eyes, Mourinho thought this, that guy who's won multiple trophies, the perfect player to create chances for the striker at the time. He was Romelu Lukaku. But no, Joel Glazer wanted to keep his Martial, keep him all cuddled up and protected in a United blanket, and he blocked that from happening. And he blocked it from happening. Because Joel Glazer thinks Martial is United's very own Pele. He thinks he's that good. So you've got to admit, when decision makers at the club think like that, the club, from a competitive standpoint, from the Prem and other competitions, we're fucking doomed. We're doomed. But, right, what about Casemiro? Okay, let's move on. What about Casemiro? His first half performance was okay, but he has been a shadow of himself since he come back from that last ban. I mean, in the second half last night, I could swear he was trying to go on a mission to get himself sent off. And if that had happened, he'd have been out for the rest of the season, been banned for the rest of the season. So he'd missed all the important Prem games, got 5 left, and he'd missed that FA Cup final against City. So don't get me wrong, I mean, I've enjoyed having him at the club this season, and I think he will do a good job in the future. But come on, man, come on. He's got to show some composure. Especially in a tackle, and he doesn't have to run around like a bull in a china shop. He's got to be more composed, and he can't rely on that last ditch tackle, because that's what's picking him up cards, and that's what's potentially going to see him sent off more. He needs to read the game better. These are things we thought he did. But he needs to read the game better, get behind the ball and face up to his opponents. And remember that golden oldie kind of rule, and it's stay touch tight to your opponent. Don't get so close that they can easily turn you. And I think that's what he's doing a lot of. People are turning him, they're getting past him, and he's putting a tackle in. Or he's reading the game late. I mean, in the second half yesterday, I was constantly thinking that Casemiro is going to sive someone down in a minute. And at times I was just like, I couldn't watch it. I couldn't have had to look away, because I thought, here he comes, he's going to come in, 2 foot blazing, chop someone down, and he's off. I mean, he did actually. And the ref didn't book him, which I was so shocked. So, moving on to Bruno Fernandes. I mean, what's going on with him? What's going on with him? With his emotions, anyway. Yeah, he's passionate about the game, like we all are, like I'm being now. I'm passionate about the game. But come on, he's got to stop being a Karen and concentrate on his own game. He's got to concentrate on his own game and stop complaining to everyone else. Stop complaining that everybody else isn't playing you a perfect pass or isn't seeing the things that you see. I mean, ultimately, it's detracting from his own game and bringing attention to him that the club doesn't need. So what I'm saying is, Bruno, stop being a whiny fucking bitch and do what he's paid to do. Play football. Well, as for Rashford, I mean, he's back to being Marcus Wankford, pardon my French, and that's what we call him. I call him when he plays badly. And last night, I forgot he was on the pitch in the second half. I really did. Okay, his first half performance was marginally better, but he's back to running in straight lines, bumping into his opponents and losing the ball. And if there's a 50-50 chance that he'll fall, there's a 50-50% chance that when he does lose that ball to an opponent, so he's running in a straight line, bumping into an opponent, there's a 50-50% chance that he'll fall on his arse and cry foul every time. I mean, just effing stop it. Just be more imaginative. Maybe try to cut inside earlier. You know what I mean? You must be aware of what's going on around with you. You've got the ball at your feet, you're running. You're not constantly staring at the ball. You've got to be looking around you. You can see that your players are doubling up on you. I mean, the opponents are denying you space. And That's what they're going to do. You're on the ball. You can't keep running in that straight line to the edge, no, the left side edge of the 18-yard box. Cut in a little earlier, look to your right a little bit, look where your opponents are, and just decide to do something different earlier. You don't have to get into the box and then cut inside, sorry. It's infuriating. I mean, unlike Anthony, Rashford has the use of his non-dominant foot. So, I mean, let's say he's a right-footed player. Off the top of my head, I can't remember. He can use his left. So he can use his opposite to his dominant. Right? So, watching both him and Anthony on the wings, for me, is bloody infuriating most of the time. I mean, I could chat about it all day if I'm honest. I really could. But, you know, you just hang your head in shame, and we got played off the park last night. Our midfield last night was not present at all. Both Fred and Casemiro pretty much did nothing in the second half. And it wasn't until Sabitzer came on that just a little bit of controlled, that's what I'm getting at, a bit of controlled energy was added. But it was too late. He came on too late, and it looked like the rest of the team at that time, by the time Sabitzer come on, had settled for a draw. And I hope this kind of performance has gone next season. I mean, I really do. I mean, for me, and I've said this in previous videos, these type of recent performances where we played semi well in the first half or the second half, but we don't replicate in the second half, let's say. They're becoming... I mean, some of those performances are no better, really, than we saw under Ralph Rangnick and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Seriously. So, I mean, where does that leave us on the hunt for top four? Where does that leave us? Because it's not all rosy, is it? It's not all rosy. I mean, yeah, all right, we're lucky. We're lucky that Liverpool, who are now in fifth below us, we're lucky that they're on a winning run, but they're still 4 points behind us and played one game more. So, we do have some way to go before we throw a top four finish away. But tell me if you agree. Right now, we are playing so badly that I don't think it matters who we play. They'll give us a game. Anyone can give United a game right now. And this is reminiscent of last season, of the season before. And I'm not blaming the manager. I literally, we're talking about players here. So if we perform as terribly as that again, we can expect a real fight for the finish for top four. And we may even miss out on it. So what games do we have left? Here's the games we have left. We've got West Ham away. They're fighting to stay. That's obviously this coming Sunday. We've got West Ham away. They're fighting to stay above the relegation fight. So yes, City spanked them earlier this week, but we won't spank them. We don't score that many goals, and they will create chances. Next, we've got Wolves at home. I remember that last 1-0 win in December against Wolves. I think they've always been a bit of a bogey side of ours. So we've got to raise our game. Like West Ham, they'll create chances. Anyone can play against us. Next, we've got Bournemouth away. So our away record is abysmal this season. Even though they are near the bottom, I think anything can happen. As for Chelsea, that's our next game at home. Historically, obviously, Chelsea had been a difficult game. But with their poor performances this season, again, anything can happen. It's one of those games, it's up in the air. Most teams will raise their game against United. It's just a throwback to when we were successful. Teams knew they had to perform better. It's a psychological thing that teams do. Our last Premier League game's at home to Fulham. Fulham have had a mixed season. Their first half has been better than their second, but they did play well when we knocked them out of the FA Cup. But I would say the best thing we can have is the fourth spot tied up by the time we play them. Not that I think they'll beat us, but you've got to admit, in our current performances, are terrible, and we can't predict anything. We can go 2-0 up in a first half and still draw a game 2-2. And the fact that we've not done it once, we've done it twice this season, recently, Sevilla and Tottenham. And the fact that we just can't maintain performances does mean that it's hard to predict what the run-in's going to be like. So how many points do we need to finish 4th? The answer is 9. 9 from a possible 15. So the 15 points to pick up, but we need 9. Getting those 9 would mean we'd finish 1 point ahead of Liverpool. That's assuming they win their remaining 4 games. So if they pick up 12 points from their next 4 games, we need to pick up 9 from our next 5 to finish 1 point ahead of them. We finish on 72 points, they'd finish on 71. So yeah, a bit shell-shocked about the terrible performance last night. So many players didn't turn up. There was a good performance from the likes of Luke Shaw. I thought Lindelof played well. I thought Dalot played well. I thought Wan-Bissaka did well. Bruno just moans too much for me. And he really didn't have an influence on the game last night. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Anything you think, if you don't agree with something I've said, or if you think I've missed something, please let me know in the comments. Also, please like the video, and if you don't subscribe, please subscribe. Thanks for watching.